a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check, wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. They were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
Hey peeps, welcome to Shay Makes It Happen and happy Martin Luther King's Day. I blog 3 times a week to bring you some deep thoughts, some DIYs, and some book reviews and reports. Today is Martin Luther King's Day, and I want to talk a little bit about today's environment and what his thoughts might be. But before we get to that, I want to invite you to consider subscribing and like and share this message I'm about to bring to you. Let's get to it, right into it. Yeah, let's go. So, I feel like if he were alive today, Martin Luther King would, I would think he would see lots of progress because our children do play together. That is something that they definitely do. But the amount of racist situations that our kids are thrown into today and we're still facing is something that probably he was thinking we probably would be past that by now. But no, here we are. We're still doing this. Like this right here. This right here. Like this little boy in a coolest little monkey in the jungle shirt. Like who thinks of doing things like that? Why would you even think that's the right thing to do? They have slavery everywhere in this world. We all have that thing about being called things that weren't quite human. That's just not something that you should have to deal with, especially not your kids. Nowadays, that's not cool. That little ad, I feel like it sets us back to vaudeville time, and I get visions of Sambo and porch monkeys and lawn jockeys in my head. Like it's just disgusting, and you just don't put a black child in a shirt like that. You don't do that. So here's the thing, I've had something similar happen to me. I was pregnant with my last kid. He's 7, he's about to be 8 in like 2 weeks. The church threw me a baby shower, and one of the music pastor's wife, she gave me a romper, one-piece thing, and it said Mommy's Little Monkey on it. Mommy's Little Monkey. Here's the thing. I looked at her and her face, she was beaming, okay? So I know she didn't mean to offend my child or myself, but I looked over at another white lady who was my pastor's wife. The only difference between her and this other white lady is that this other white lady has black children. 3 beautiful black babies. I looked over at my pastor's wife, and her face just was like, and I know it's because she wasn't aware. And so I forgave her for that. But this is a company, and I don't want to alienate any viewers that I have that are not of color, because I actually don't really have a whole lot of friends that are of color. Most of my friends are white, but that's, that's not what it is. I just want you guys to be aware. And most of you are the most lovely people in the world, but you have to be a little bit aware of the culture that you are living in. So what I mean to say is that it doesn't matter the intention that you have. Something like that remains in your memory. I mean, it's been 8 years and it's still ingrained in my memory. But then there are moments like these.
Here today to help us conduct our experiment is 9-year-old scientist Mackenzie Layson. Come on out, Mackenzie. You got interested in science, and what do you like about it?
My aunt is a neuroscientist at Johns Hopkins University, and she inspired me to get into it. I love science, I love mixing ingredients, and I want to get other girls excited about science also.
That's so good!
Time is up. Why isn't she the prime example of a black person that is held up for us to look at? She is looked at as the exception to the rule. She is not looked at as the norm. Yes, she is extraordinary, but there are so many of us that are extraordinary, but all anybody seems to focus are those ratchet ass people that are everywhere else. It's not even society's fault. That's how we are looked at, because we need to step up our game and we need to show that side of us, that intelligence of us. There's so many of us out here that are just brilliant people, but we can't get attention unless we act like I don't want to name names, because the people that I am thinking are still brilliant, and that's what upsets me, because so many of these artists out there have such wonderful spirits. Like, if you stop long enough to look past all of their glitz and glamour and their brashness, and just, you will learn and you see that these people are some savvy people and just great thinkers, but they're not showing that. We can't show that. And again, I go back to the vaudeville, and all they see are the porch monkeys and sambos, because all we can do is entertain. We had Barack Obama for a hot minute. We had 8 years of Barack Obama, but as soon as he got there, all anybody wanted to do was get him out of there. The town I live in sometimes feels a little bit like freaking Alabama, okay? With the rednecks and everybody. It's so Republican where I live. People don't want to say, you just voted for him as a black man. It's not because he was a black man. The man was freaking brilliant. He was brilliant, and he was a good example of what a black person was. Michelle was a great example, but they are still looked at as the exception. And everything and every freaking decision that he made was always looked at twice. And yet we have this president today.
I want to share with you a dramatic little story from the gospel as recorded by St. Luke. It is the story of a man who, by all standards of measurement, would be considered a highly successful man.
Who every decision he makes needs to be looked at 3 or 4 times. And yet, I have yet to hear anybody talk about that idiot the way that they talked about Obama in my presence. Yes, Trump is a way better president than Obama was, according to all the people I live around. He's our president. But then when Obama was like, oh yeah, Obama, he ruining this, he ruining that. Like, oh, he's not my president. Our president, which I still want to say I have to respect because I was military. He would have been my commander-in-chief I'm so glad I am not in anymore, because I couldn't serve somebody I respect less. I don't feel like I have a president. We didn't even know how good we had it with Bush, and now we have this idiot. And when Obama was there, they talked about him like he was the worst thing that could have ever happened to this country, and he ruined this country. Look at it the right way, please. Put on your non-racist glasses. Look at exactly what's going on. There are way too many things happening under this administration for him to even be considered a great president. We need him gone as soon as possible. And so that brings me to the whole push that they have now with Oprah. They want her to run. Is that a good idea? I mean, I want you, just leave me a comment below and tell me you even think that's a good idea, because apparently we're all gonna pick people that we see on TV now from now on. I remember back when almost everybody in the presidency required a law degree, and now we're talking about TV credits and ratings. If we want to look at it that way, TV ratings and credits, TV ratings, Oprah had more, and credits, she has way more, and they're better in money management. Just saying, okay? What do you think? Do you think she should run? Do you think Oprah should run for president? I mean, she can give a hell of a speech. Better speaker, that's for sure. And then she can give you more confidence. And white people like her. Well, some of them. The white people I know don't like her. Anyway, she's not probably gonna run. It's been done. A TV personality running for president, it's been done twice by white men. Anyway, that went way left. This was supposed to be a positive video. I'm just ranting, and I'm sorry I'm ranting, but all I see is steps backwards towards the time when Martin Luther King was here fighting for our rights. And it's going right back to that. Can't hide the racism anymore, because people have these little things called phones that can record everything you do now, instead of keeping it to themselves and hushing up and going to their corner and going to their home and licking their wounds. They're still going home and licking their wounds, but they also getting mad and posting them online. And you can't do the things that you wanted to do before, because everybody can see it now. Time's up. That is it for this video. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Here's to more progress and elevation and just everybody coming together. And I'm not talking black and white, because those are not the only colors here. We're talking Asian, we're talking to brown people. I mean, I'm Hispanic. I see you next week with another deep thought. Again, I'm going to invite you to subscribe. Hit the button down below and hit the like, because sometimes I just go off on rants. I didn't even mean for this to be this long. Share this with anybody that you know. If you would like to support my videos or anything, check the description down below. I've got links to my books and my Patreon page. I try to stay away from politics, but sometimes you just have to say what's on your mind. Till next time, much love. Bye.
So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.